position as 4th, which is, again, I must reiterate, is an important place of the standings heading into those playoffs because it means you do start off in that upper bracket, meaning you have an extra life. Now, taking a look at runes, it's a phase rush for the Gragas, phase rush also for the Poppy. Elsewhere seems somewhat what you'd expect. Obviously, Tristana opting into for a little bit more sustain, Pretender opting in for a little more lane dominance.
I do like it. Sometimes see the Synders go for the first strike, but I think if you are playing Syndra into Tristana, the main reason is for the laning phase, and so having more laning power makes a lot of sense. And in this matchup, it's pretty much the same as other champs with some sort of disengaged versus Trist. You pretty much just want to hold it. If you hold your Syndra E, Trist can never jump forward, and then you're free to just pepper her with Qs from afar. And a level 6, especially with that Nocturne, do have quite a lot of kill threat.
Now, where are your eyes going to go for this game? Because I'm interested in the Fiora vs Gragas dynamic.
I think that's kind of where I'm looking at too, because I do think that I'm pretty willing to just hand the 5v5 team fight to DCG right now, unless this Fiora gets so strong that she can always bring 1, if not 2, away from the fight, or if Fiora gets strong enough and can just team fight. Because we sometimes see, if Fiora gets accelerated, as long as she has Ghost, she can actually team fight decently well. Doesn't bring a lot of utility, but brings enough damage.
I want to point out something I'm slightly worried about.
Okay.
Cascada started with Cull.
Ooh.
Now, does have the Halo Blades. And that could be that it's more of a Gwinsu's sort of pathway. It feels weird to not just go for that longsword start when you do want the static shiv. And so it makes me wonder, is he going to go AP? Because we've seen Cascada one time already this split go for a lethality build on the Kai'Sa.
Yeah, I mean, I could kind of see the lethality build, but I do feel like the AP build is just better, right? It feels like you want any excuse to go to the AP build, unless you're forced into not going it for whatever reason.
Yeah, and you don't feel like you're forced. Having that you do have a Gragas, obviously, there is some AP, but you can not have Gragas as your solo AP. It doesn't really matter.
Kai'Sa has the D-mats. Hold on, we will be going for a bot dive here.
Yeah, okay. Kaiwing is going to be looked at. He's stunned up, and he's going to be taken out nice and quickly. Hana picking that one up for himself. Very well executed dive here as Eminem being looked at as well.
Yeah, they got a plate already.
He's trying to
he wants to stay off the wall.
Oh, flash away, and there is a teleport coming through. It is Fiora's TP. Orca, though, should be taken out, and Fiora not gaining anything for it. Ultimately, it may have meant the difference between whether or not Eminem goes down, but it is going to be a huge committal here for solo kill. Losing out on that TP means this top lane just became a whole lot easier for Hanabi on the Gragas.
It did. I think you do have to kind of make that TP, and it is really good for Eminem, who will trade a kill back, but it definitely means the game is more on him, and solo kill, a lot of his agency in the game has been taken away. We'll see how this happened. It's pretty simple, really. A 3-camp bot from Hana. They've got the stacking wave. Kai'Sa does get priority. And just so much CC. I mean, Kaiwing never really has a chance, despite having the sums. It never was close. And I do like the redive from DCG. I think, even though Orca went down and gave a kill to Eminem, you've still got a very big lead here. And forcing out the TP might even be worth more than the kill in terms of just actual game state. Because if you think you win the 5v5 anyway, a kill on Eminem probably won't make the difference between that, but slowing down that Fiora could definitely mean that you get to 5v5 for, say, an extra dragon, and suddenly that's the difference between getting 3rd and 4th for those drags.
Yeah.
Now, as I was saying before, Kai'Sa has the D-mat, so that makes me think that she is going Shiv still.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think, importantly, though, because that kill was picked up by Eminem as well as starting the longsword, means that Static Shiv will come on a whole lot earlier here for the Zeri, which means maybe because of that, they can start to look towards the dragons. I mean, particularly once Pretender hits 6 and Kenny Chan hits 6, well, if it's just a straight-up team fight, they might not be favored. They can create so much uncertainty with that paranoia that they can find a way in those fights.
Yep. Early lane here is going the way of Mission. It is somewhat to be expected. Syndra doesn't really have the damage yet to really put the hurt onto Tristana, especially with the fleet. The fleet movement speed more than the sustain can make it difficult. It really just comes down to how good is Mission at dodging skill shots and how good is Pretender at hitting them. And top lane, Hanabi should be ahead after he picks up this whole wave. Ever so slightly. It's going to be up. It's going to be completely even.
And that's pretty important, I think, considering the teleport committed early for solo kill. Dragon, though, 5 minutes 30.
It's good timing.
Yeah. Looks like DCG will be picking that one up.
Yeah, I really like that. Frank, are they going to try steal this? No. They might still try fight around here, though. Kaiwing, he has flash.
He's level 3 still.
Yeah, it should be fine. Mission has to be careful on his way back to mid, though. Yeah, he's being looked at. Has a W. This might be flashed. Okay, I thought maybe he'd just flash trade, but does not. That's a good pickup, though, that Dragon. I mean, if you're playing against a split push win condition, the earlier you can kind of threaten the drag soul, the better. Force him to come out of the side lane and just take a 5v5. I mean, he's taking a little bit of damage now on the top side, but I think he's mainly going to be fine, especially because Solokill was stuck on this relatively weak Cull for a long time. Doesn't have the TP, and Hanabi still does. Hana is in River here, but Pretender has the Prior, and Kenny Chan, I think he should be getting this. I mean, Mission wants to contest. I think this is better for Frank, though.
Yeah, there is no Eminem just yet. He will jump over. Syndra stealing away that crab. It's going to be Eminem locked up. He's looking to go down. It's Orca, though, next to be looked at. Fair should land, and Pretender picking himself up a kill nice and early. Now, Hana, the next point of attraction. Is the stun going to land here for Kaiwing? It will not. And some return damage coming through from Chris Carter, but ultimately a 1-for-1. It was the crab picked up there by the side of Frank. Obviously, Syndra helping a whole lot by just dragging that away from Hana.
It's a nice buster shot at the end as well from Mission to disengage that. And you wonder what Eminem was up to here. I think he might have just misangled this a little bit, because it feels like this should be a really winning fight for Frank. But instead, your AD carry just pretty much dies for free and deals no damage whatsoever. He even had the cleanse, and he didn't use it. Feels like that might have been... Maybe he could have kited back a bit. I mean, could have been dead to rights, but either way, that's pretty important for Pretender. He's got the Sork shoes now. That's going to allow him to put on a lot more damage in this lane. It's very hard for the Tristana to itemize any MR early if you're not going for the Merc Treads. And oftentimes you do see the Merc Treads rush come out in this matchup. But I think if you don't have the lethal tempo and you don't have Berserkers, pretty hard to deal damage later on.
Yeah, definitely is. Now, I think all things considered, things are going fairly well for Frank. Honestly, sort of feels to me like Solo Kill got away with murder with that teleport and now still remaining even. Bax gets the Sheen, so even more power in this lane. As nice trade found by Pretender. As Eminem jumping forward will pop the ult, but he's out of range. Chris Carter will be able to keep himself nice and safe there.
Yeah, Frank got even in gold, but first Herald and first Drag going the way of DCG so early does feel kind of bad. I think you're right that Solo Kill got away with it a little bit. Hanami hasn't used his TP at all. And it feels like at some point there would have been the potential to just TP back and then have more items and leverage that over your opponent, but never found it. And where would this Herald go? You'd have to think towards bots since they've already got a plate. I mean, giving the Tristana gold could be nice as well, but I think given that bot's taking a bit more damage, it could be the place to look. Alternatively, maybe you try damage mid before the Shivs get put in that lane. Lots of options, really.
Shiv completed.
Yeah, nice and early.
And despite going down, it is really that kill and assist, as well as starting with the longsword, that puts him at an advantage in terms of the speed of the Shiv picked up. Now, when it comes to second items, Chris Carter should be relatively even, if not ahead, when it comes to that spike. But at least for the given time, Eminem holding himself with an advantage. As you see, Chris Carter getting off his recall will not have the Shiv available to himself.
Minute away from the second dragon already. And Frank, I think, could be ready to contest this one. They are reasonably strong. Alternatively, if you could trade for a lot of gold in the top side, it would be good. But feels like trading on the Gragas not too easy. Orca being looked at here. Could take some damage from Pretender. Stun committed, but doesn't find him.
Always have to be careful. Paranoia obviously available here for Kenny Chan. Means that there is a very, very far away engage or collapse that can come through from Kenny Chan.
Okay, 30 seconds. Both TPs are up for top laners, but I would kind of expect them just to stay where they are and not really look to roam too much. And I'm pretty sure DCG... Well, I think it comes down to execution, actually, on the second drag. Because there is no item here yet for Cascada, so he's a little bit weaker. And the Cinder is quite strong. So will, I think, just be probably a 4v4 around it, and this might actually start from the bot side. It's Hana's probably going to drop the Herald through here. But Kenny Chan's waiting in the wings, knows it's likely. Walker maybe wants to get aggressive. Mission has to be so careful pathing down the river, though. If he's found by Nocturne and Syndra, won't be long for this world. They spot him out.
Okay. River control is in favor of DCG. Despite the shift being picked up for Eminem, it feels a little bit too dangerous for him to walk up and find any attacks on the wave. Which means Cascada, being so far pushed, is able to get that shove on. And Kenny Chan, as well as Pretender here, walking towards that tri-bush. Wow. Nice. Good stun there by Pretender.
But Dragon has not been started up by either side, which I think favors Frank. If you can, just keep giving Solical time to scale up in the top side and make sure those drags aren't coming through instantly for DCG. I think that's a big win. And Cascada, I think he's going to try farm this wave, and then maybe he has item after that. See. And Hana, he wants to start this up, so he is pulling it now, which will force Cascada to stay. And this Herald still hasn't been used either. I think Frank should fight this. Cascada's sitting on a lot of gold at this point, but they're going to be here pretty late. It's already very low. Maybe Mission could be the target. He's taking a bit of damage already.
Oh, flash forward does go Kaiwing. Is the Dragon already taken out? As we're going to see Kenny Chan stunned up against that wall by the Poppy. The stun comes through also, though, for Pretender onto Orca, who is very, very low and dismounted. Does Kaiwing have the attack speed, or the movement speed? He will. And Eminem coming through, gobbles himself up a second kill for the game. It is the second Dragon trade for just the one kill for the side of Frank.
Can maybe drop this Herald here onto mid. It's going to take a little bit of damage. Pretender's around, does not have the ulti this time. So going to be more gold. There's actually some of it that goes to Mission. Get a replay. Feels like Kenny Chan almost should have just died on the engage. It's very close. Mission takes a lot of damage on the way here, so it was a nice chunk from Pretender. This was Kaiwing, he gets it stopped here by the Poppy block, was very, very close to finding Mission and just shoved into the wall. Mission didn't get any orders on Kenny Chan, and one order would have been the difference. I'm not sure if he couldn't see him. I mean, it must have been close enough, right? I feel like it was. Either way, he couldn't find it, and there was a kill traded back as well as Hana's flash forced out. So all things considered, it was relatively even, but DCG managed to get more gold on the tower, and they also got that second drag. So I think DCG, well, I mean, I think everything feels pretty even still. Maybe slightly DCG favored, but both teams are kind of still achieving their win conditions.
Yeah, it does feel like DCG, though, giving themselves more options, being that they have picked up the early two dragons, could be something to note. Obviously, if Frank starts to tidy it up around that third dragon, it ultimately won't matter.
Yeah, third dragon will be the big one. And it feels really tough. Ooh, Mission?
Oh!
It feels really tough, I think, for the side of Frank, because normally, you know, you're not expecting to win these dragon fights early, especially when you're playing with a Nocturne as well as a Fiora. But you're normally expecting to be able to trade onto top side. And Gragas is just one of those champs that is so hard to punish because he's so tanky and he's got such good wave clear and a strong laning phase. So it's just really hard to trade, and he's a great weak side champion. And you really see it here. Nothing has been achieved on top side at all from Hanami, just constantly clearing under the tower. And solo kill TP top, which is interesting. I mean, he's going to match Mission, but I don't think anything's really going to happen there. I think this is better macro for DCG. Because Hanabi's just getting the hit bot for free. Okay, Frank, they're hitting this Herald, but the problem is there's already a Shiv on mid lane. So where are you going to use this?
Maybe just putting it into solo kills lane against the Gragas, perhaps, or it will be the Herald anyway, picked up by Frank. There was no answer. Just letting Gragas hit this tower. Teleport now actually coming out from Pretender, who's going to match it.
Yeah, I feel like that was quite good for DCG, though. While this Herald has been picked up, I don't think a lot will be found with it. And in the meantime, there is a TP advantage for Hanabi. And Solo Kill is kind of stuck in a poor lane assignment. While he's fine to verse Tristana, he doesn't really want to be versing DCG's strong side, which is what's happening here. So rather than having an isolated lane to just keep farming up, he's kind of forced into some early skirmishes.
Farming though is going forward. It's a 2v3 at least for now, with Kitty Chan following up a lot of damage here onto Cascada as Eminem slides on through the wall. He's trying to do the damage. That Glacial Augment really slowing down his progress as he tries to run forward. All things considered, pretty even trade in terms of health bars. Solokil remaining full health, has the Ghost, also has access to that Fiora ult, and by God, that minion wave disappeared.
It really did. I feel like this is quite bad for Solokil though. Sharing a lot of XP, sharing a lot of gold. While Pretender is getting to farm up on the bot side, which, I mean, it's good. I still worry a little bit about just their straight 4v4. Eminem is getting stronger though, which is going to make that nicer. 50 seconds on the next drag, and this is a drag that Solokil and Pretender do not have TPs for. So someone is going to just be forced to walk here and give up CS on the side lane. And it looks like it's going to be Pretender. Pretender's currently walking out towards top. He can catch this top wave and then walk all the way down. But that's going to mean that DCG have complete control over this river. And Mission's on the map and ready a lot earlier than Pretender will be. So this is looking like a really good fight here for DCG. Frank, it's a bit of an uphill battle, but I think they somehow have to try get this. Now, Hana resets very, very late. I guess he has a big item. You'd hope so. Yep, okay, so he completes Mythic. But it's a little worrying. I mean,
Pretender also did finish Ludens during that time as well.
Yep, that gives Frank the way back into the river, though. Hanami's just going to go top with TP. I wonder if they're just going to give over this dragon to Frank and just try and trade gold on the top tower, because I think they definitely could. I think this tower survives for now. Nope, it's going to get taken out.
Okay,
Hanami's walking down.
He is.
He's not using his TP.
We are likely to see a 5v5.
Yeah. I'm really surprised that Hanami hasn't used his TP advantage at all. He's sat in it all game, despite Solokil having used TP rather poorly twice. And somehow Frank have the control. I think if you're DCG, you just go down mid, and Hanami should still be top.
Yeah, it feels like this roam down made a bit redundant as...
Another engaged block by Hana.
Yeah.
Hana's doing a really good job, but I really have to question Hanabi this game. I think he's had two big opportunities to punish Solokil's TP disadvantage, but instead he's just walking down the map, and it feels like he's just played the entire game without a summoner.
Yeah. That's definitely weird. I mean, you can make the argument that while you haven't used it, keeping it up means there's this sort of omnipresence. But still, the fact that it's been up the entire game while Solokil has made use of his, and he's got it up now again. He's against the strong side. Mission should be able to pick up this tower.
Nice angle.
Yeah, it is going to be that paranoia used, and not long for that fight was Kitty Chan. Gets booted away off our screen, and it is the tower picked up there.
Yep. So while gold does favor DCG, I think Frank managing to get one drag was super important, and especially because it was one drag for basically nothing. I mean, Hanabi could have got that tier 2 top, or DCG probably could have committed to that tier 1 mid. In fact, I think ideal is probably DCG give the drag, they take the top tower, and then whenever Hanabi, or whenever someone answers Hanabi, Hanabi just walks down mid and they break that. So it could have been a lot of gold to pick up. Instead, it's kind of all left on the table, and things are a lot more even here than I think they should be, given the way that Frank have kind of missed macroed, but then DCG just followed up with more poor macro.
Yep. One thing I will say is, while Nocturne can find a way into the team fight, with Buster Shot as well as the Poppy ult, feels like he's just going to consistently be booted out. Seems pretty hard for him to stay anywhere near either Mission or Cascada.
2 items here for Eminem. Pretty early. So he's still managing to get a bit of gold for himself. And Mission normally has to be careful on side lane, but while that Nocturne ult is down, that's kind of his window to push out. This mid tower is very low, but the Shiv is keeping it alive on life support, really.
Yeah, it is kind of just a walking 300 gold sack.
It walks?
Standing, shall I say.
Okay, it's 2.5 minutes on next drag, and I think this game will pretty much come down to a Dragon Soul at some point. Fiora's once again in the side lane versus the Gragas, but how much can she get done? It feels like you almost need like 3 items to do anything to Gragas, and even then, I'm not sure if that'll be it, because the problem is the wave just disappears. You almost need a hull breaker just to keep it alive.
I'll tell you, there is an absolute connoisseur of the hull breaker in the PCS. It is Solo Kill. He loves that item. He picks it up. If he's a rallier, nah. I mean, I imagine a Fiora. He just pretty much always picks up the hull breaker.
Fiora of all champs, surely.
Yeah, definitely. Especially with how much damage you can do on towers if you gain access to them. And importantly as well, the hull breaker will mean that Gragas then does start to struggle to clear out the cannon waves.
Okay. Mission, he's pulled away from this side lane. Does not feel super confident up against the Syndra Nocturne at the moment. But they have controlled this river, and Hanabi's got himself a Zhonya, so now even harder to get ganked, and can also survive any kind of Fiora tower dive.
Oh, nice stun. Pretender finds a pretty big amount of damage here onto Hana, who is looking to go for the recall. Kaiwing will not allow it. Now, because of this, honestly because of that stun found by Pretender, and the chunk that followed, means they are able to regain some control over this topside river.
1 minute away. I'm curious to see what happens here. There are 2 items on the Fiora, and she's got TP, so she kind of does have options now. It's starting to be possible for her to teamfight. I still don't think she's at the point where she can really take towers in the side lane, so at the moment she doesn't have a lot of pressure, and I think that if DCG play it well, it should still be their winning teamfight.
I think importantly though, Solo Kill opting for the Ghost means he will be a little bit stronger in those fights.
That is true.
Definitely a lot better than the Flash when it comes to team fighting. As pretty much all of those melee top lane carries, a lot of them often struggle to stick to an opponent, and Ghost offers that a lot better than Flash does. Maybe Jax being the only real sort of anomaly in that case.
Resets coming out of both mid laners. Would not be surprised to see them just TP mid. Might even be mashed by Pretender. Feels like you just want to get on the map as soon as possible, get in this river. Lifesteal has been picked up for Mission, and actually they're going to control Baron's side vision. So happy to give over a drag and just force down the Baron. They're going to clear this all out, and they do have a lot of DPS. They just started up.
They're on it. Solo Kill auto-attacking that dragon, but quickly realizing that will not be able to happen.
What better way to bring this split push into a fight?
So low. It's down to 3k.
Ooh.
Oh my goodness. Kenny Chan is going to pop that ult and go for Orca. But Kaiwing's been eliminated from the fight, as has Eminem. He's been deleted in the follow-up. Chris Carter finding a lot of damage. The 4-man pulverize here from Kaiwing will be pretty meaningless as he does inevitably go down. And what a clean team fight. Once again, Hana denying the engage from Kaiwing, hitting him out of the fight, and then just the follow-up from Chris Carter and the rest of DCG secure themselves a team fight win and the Baron.
I do. And you see why the team fights are so favored there, really, to DCG. Just too much AoE, too much engage. I'm sure we'll get a replay, but Solo Kill, he TPs up from the drag for a TP flank, as you can see on the minimap there, but he's so far away. And the fight ends up going nowhere near him. I mean, Orca found this really good flank, gets the Nocturne ult out, which is huge. I mean, now your carries are under no threat whatsoever. Pretender, forced to disengage, is just caught up by the Rel. And the mobile mage with nowhere to go, really. So DCG, their team fight is a lot easier to execute, no doubt about it. But that's the punishment you have for picking champs like Fiora and Nocturne.
Absolutely, and now Frank will have to try and deal with these Baron waves coming at them for the next 2 minutes. At the moment, Solo Kill being left alone in that top side, Mission heading in that direction. See how much damage onto this tower Solo Kill can get. It's looking like it's actually getting very, very low. Although Mission coming through, that is not a trivial amount of damage. Is Solo Kill going to be forced to ghost?
Yeah, I think the ghost is actually a big deal. Thought Mission would chase after him. But that's a really long cooldown. Well, not really long, but really important, really.
That's right.
And he's not going to have it up for any time during this Baron. So if Frank tries and slow down this Baron by forcing a fight, Fiora's not really going to be that impactful. Looks like he is working on the Hullbreaker. But honestly, I don't think it's going to finish in any relevant time.
Yeah, you've really got 4 minutes, it feels, to get that item completed.
Not just completed, but get set up in the side lane as well.
Now, Poke coming through here. I gotta say it, I said it a lot yesterday, but I'm a little bit upset to see the Guinzoos. I really think you benefit so much more off just keeping at range and firing those Ws. One thing I talked about yesterday, and we don't really see it all that often, is how strong Leandries can be on the Kai'Sa. because not only do you constantly land these pokes, and if it hits the tanks, it does a little bit more damage than you would if you have the Ludens or the Guinsus, but if you go into a fight and you land a Q on multiple people, all of them will then start to burn away from the Liandry's. So you get a lot of effectiveness. Sort of the weakness of your Q is if it's not an isolated target, it does less damage. But then you've kind of gotten rid of that weakness by meaning it burns everyone it does hit. But will be the Guinsus, ultimately. I definitely think it's not the correct choice, though.
Well, either way, let's see if he can get it before third dragon, because I think that's a really big spike, and I think he probably can.
He definitely should.
They've picked up a lot of gold off this Baron. Up 3k off of it. Now they're very, very far ahead of Frank.
Oh.
Mission does have to be kind of careful. Not to Fiora, but just to Nocturne. I think they did have eyes of Nocturne on the bot side, though. So it's going to be fine here. Reset will come in for him as well. Will he have his BT? Yep, has it completed. That's a big pickup. And the Nocturne hasn't found anything in the team fights. Has just been constantly denied by Hana, really. Onto the back line. So 2 minutes on the drag. There is still no hull breaker. There's no even tier 2 boots for solo kill. Feels like he's so far away from being able to actually put pressure on Gragas in the side lane.
Yeah, well, he hasn't got any towers, and that is where the majority of the gold you get from Fiora comes from. But when you're not able to take any of them, it feels like you've really been neutralized in terms of this counter pick. And I don't even think that it necessarily has to go this way. But just no attention to that top side means that there is just going to be an absolutely fine stalemate when it comes to the Gragas.
Especially with the early TP as well. I don't even think it was punished that well by Hanabi, but definitely slows solo kill down. He grabs his first, which is a nice pickup.
And a shutdown. And now bot side Pretender trying to land some stuns. Hana will threaten the ult, but ultimately will not use it. And so goes on to a very short cooldown. Will be back up in no time. In fact, as I'm saying, it pretty much has come back up already. Guinsus was completed here by Cascada on the Kai'Sa. And you see player gold on the side.
Yeah, look at Mission.
Yeah. Mission finding
he's up
a lot.
Like 4k gold.
Yeah.
And it's basically just in all this CS. Has just been able to rotate around the map a lot cleaner. And honestly, that is partially just what you get for being ahead, right? You naturally get to farm the side lane more. And I think also Pretender and solo kill kind of mismanaging their TPs does end up costing Pretender especially a lot of CS. So he is down a lot, and you'd have to give credit to Mission for that, but I don't think it's all Pretender's fault. Now, he's got the Shadow Flame, so it's a big spike, and you need all the damage you can get, really, because 40 seconds, if you give over this Ocean Drag, you might as well give over the 4th place with it.
Yeah, Eminem also picking up the Bloodthirster, so very, very important items coming through. Hull Breaker is completed here on solo kill.
Just in time for the team fight.
That's right. The perfect item to 5v5 with.
Hanami's got the Morello. No healing allowed.
That feels weird, I think.
I think it's kind of good just because you want power right now. And Mission, please don't face check that. Oh, he sweeps him out. Nice. Oh, they know he's there, and solo kill doesn't know that they found him.
Is he going to be able to find a way out? Does have the Ghost, but using Go... Oh, they don't know he's still there.
Yeah.
They might have thought he's recalling, because he didn't actually just remain still the entire time. Actually, in fact, that could surprise them as Kaiwing does find a nice engage, and the follow-up is good. Eminem finds himself a first kill, and he's remained in that team fight to weigh out these health bars. Mission going to be forced to flash out of this Dragon Pit, and now Dragon should be going over to Frank. I don't know exactly what happened there, but Cascada was found shut down, and it is going to be the Dragon picked up, so no soul just yet. Frank by themselves, 5 more minutes for really solo kill to start working away at some of these side lanes.
I'm very surprised Frank just didn't immediately run to Baron here, because Cascada's dead for 20 and still has to walk to the Baron. And despite spotting out solo kill nice and early, they don't really check him, and they instead just go for the engage. And I think this is the first engage that Frank has found that has been from multiple angles. You know, solo kill actually manages to find his way in.
Stun.
Yeah. Really nice there. Take him out, and like you said, it's an important pickup, but even more important would be the Baron, and I'm really surprised. I think Frank could have done it if they just ran to it. Instead, it's DCG who are going to be putting pressure on it. Now, this is 3v4.
This is a 3v4, but do Frank realize it's a 3v4? It feels like they probably don't. They're going to get the teleport out, but it's going to be Pretenders, and the Baron is stopped Meanwhile, on the bot side, you see the hull breaker completed on solo kill means he is now able to get access to these towers.
I think he turned back to the Baron.
They are looking like it. They're clearing out the vision for now, and recall's coming through. There's no teleport here on Pretender, who does cancel his recall, but this Baron is getting absolutely annihilated. Kinchan gonna have to look for a steal. He's not gonna commit.
That's the rage blade
would have been too much, but it is ultimately going to be Baron here, picked up by the side of DCG, and perhaps it was the rage blade that made the difference there. Although I think Frank just a little bit discombobulated. Really not playing well as a team around these objectives for the most part, and DCG on the other hand find themselves what was essentially an entirely free Baron.
Yeah, that was so strange. I really think that Frank, after just killing Frescata and getting the Dragon, could have just run straight to Baron, and then you'd have a Baron buff Fiora. Game would be completely different. For some reason, they don't go to it. I guess because they were lacking cooldowns, but realistically, you know, with the Kai'Sa dead, that's all the poke gone. You only had to worry about the Trist, and then they give up so much control over that Baron, and DCG just do it too fast. And while Fiora has started to get stuff in the side lane now, the Baron puts another delay on it. Another kind of 2 or 3 minute delay here where it's just too hard to really take anything into Hanabi. And so it's up to the rest of DCG to get as much done here. Try and make it as difficult as possible for Frank to ever get a foot in the door.
And importantly, the Dragon spawning only about 40 seconds after the end of this Baron means Solo Kill really has 40 seconds to try and put on the heat before the Dragon Soul win condition back on the table for DCG.
Frescata's got a Zhonya's now, so it kind of feels like he's not a viable target. Mission 2 has a stopwatch. Next fight, I think, is going to be very difficult for Frank. A lot of it is going to be on trying to find some sort of engage, some sort of stun, even a flank from Solo Kill. I think a straight-up 5v5, I mean, we've been saying all game they don't win it, but a straight-up 5v5 right now feels like it would just be a massacre. DCG would just destroy Frank.
Thoughts on the Blighted Jewel?
Bad.
Yeah. I think this should be turning into a death cap. But
he's got a book as well. Building a few items over there.
Yeah, it's just the Earth grab bag.
Okay, trying to pressure this top tower. I think it's good as well that they're putting members in Fiora's lane. Just try and make sure she can never push out. And even if they can't actually take much more with this Baron, I think just keeping it pushed, making sure they have control, especially if the bot side jungle is really good. And I think mid tower might actually take some hits here, although I don't think the waves are synced. So a bit of, again, miss macro from DCG might mean that they don't get as much here as they should. You really need 2 waves to crash here. It looks like instead they're going to try and invest the Poppy ult. Oh,
nice stun from Pretender, denies it. It's Kinchan looking for something with that fear. It's going to be Pretender's ult used there onto Hana's Poppy. The Radiant Virtue is popping, trying to get back some of that health. Nice chunk. Kaiwing is forced to use his ultimate as well as he runs back to the fountain. Looks like they are going to start to get to work on this inhib tower top. Are they going to be able to find it though? Stun lands here onto Kinchan. Does their paranoia, and the teleport's coming through. I don't know which one's which. Solo Kill is on the flank. His Mission going to have to back off. Solo Kill trying to find nice Zhonya's, denies that Magna Storm from finding anything. He's going to get stunned up. He does have the GA. Oh, he doesn't actually have the GA. He's just absolutely annihilated. It's going to be now a 5v4 as DCG lose their Baron, so Eminem might be able to clear this minion wave away alongside Pretender on the Syndra. Although teleporting coming through, they're looking for the fight. They are clearing out this wave. Mission finding a big chunk there onto the tower as Hanabi goes forward. Hanabi is going to find the start of the fight as Eminem gets absolutely cleared out. It's now Kaiwing versus the world, and with 30 seconds left until Solo Kill respawns. It's your nearest member, but there is no minions. Kaiwing's got a lot to do here if he's wanting to save the game. 20 seconds left on your Fiora, and 280 carries to try and contest with. He's not going to be able to do it. He's going to try his damnedest, but that tower goes down immediately. And with Mission and Frescata now hitting the Nexus, in fact turning around towards Kaiwing, one slip up from Solo Kill. It was the one death which led to the end of the game, and it's DCG